Okay. Hi everybody. Game Cooker US Rocks VR here. Um, I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible, and I just woke up a little while ago, so I'm kind of out of it. But if I don't do this now, I'm not gonna get it done. You know, whether you care about what I'm about to say or not, well, that's up to you. But somebody left me a message on my Plague Tale Requiem DLSS 3 RTX, upscaling video. Um, Let me just pause it. Um, Somebody left me a comment here, and I appreciate everybody's comments. He said, or she, or he, Johnny675, said 4090 is a waste of money. Okay, that's kind of a blanket statement, but that's fine. And he's laughing. Even a PS5 can produce better graphical fidelity than it. Okay, the 4090. So he's mocking it basically. Digital Foundry even stated Forbidden West on PS5 is the best looking game they have seen. SkillUp even said the same thing. Okay, so the first thing I want to comment on is Digital Foundry reviews things for Digital Foundry. SkillUp reviews things for SkillUp, right? So what do I mean by that? In other words, everybody who reviews a Digital Foundry is reviewing the game based from their perspective. Okay. Um, the same with SkillUp, right? Like Digital Foundry is not reviewing the game for me, right? They're reviewing the game and then giving their opinion on it, right? So out of the billions of people on the planet, everybody's going to be different, right? Everybody has their own wants and desires and the things that make them tick and the things that they love, the things that they don't love, um, the things that entertain them, right? So simply saying because a channel said Forbidden West on PS5 is the best looking game they've ever seen, well, first of all, they're talking about the PS5, right? So they're not talking about the PC here. Now he didn't mention what Skill Up was, you know, commenting on there, but I'm assuming he's talking about the PS5 as well. And I don't have any problem with Digital Foundry saying that Forbidden West, right? Remember, we're not even talking about like the game that's up top here, which was Plague Tale Requiem. Okay? Like that's the video that he commented on. Okay? So, that's a little kind of confusing. But anyway, so Forbidden West is on the PS5 right now. I don't even think it's out on PC. So if it is, correct me if I'm wrong, because I would have bought it, I think. Um, so he's comparing a 4090 to console hardware. Okay, the PS5 now is what I would say obsolete. Okay, it's already like the hardware that's in it, I think is now 2 generations old. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Um, but remember, it's never exactly the same as like the desktop GPUs, right? They have to modify it somewhat to fit the whole console structure, electronic thing. So, it has tweaks and stuff in it, I'm sure. Um, and the only reason the PS5 and Microsoft buys AMD chips is because AMD sells them to them real cheap. Okay? And yeah, you could say it's the power efficiency, I guess, but which is important. Um, but I mean, Intel and Nvidia now can make a console chip. They can use an Intel chip with Nvidia graphics, no problem. You know, now, and it would be very efficient. Because remember, we have the E-cores now, right? So you can put a 4.2 gigahertz E-core in there, which is very efficient, with a 4000 series chip, which is efficient. So that would be wonderful. I wish that the consoles would change to that because I would love to have the RTX features in the consoles. But anyway, so, you know, the PS5, even a PS5 can produce better graphical fidelity than the 4090. So again, um, he didn't really give me a quote on anybody at Digital Foundry saying the 4090 is worse than the graphics in PS5, right? Neither did he put a quote from SkillUp saying that either. Okay, so again, a PS5 game, again, a 4090 is a 4K gaming GPU. Okay, it's not 1440, it's not 1080p, it's a 4K to 8K gaming rendering GPU. Okay, so um, it's not even apples to apples, right? So you're not comparing something that is like supposed to perform the same, right? Um, but a PS5 cannot natively do 4K at 120. I mean, I would say 99% of the time it can't do that. It has to have some kind of like upscaling or whatever they call it on there, where you're rendering the resolution at slightly lower to get up the frame rates. But yeah, unless it's a really old game, a PS5 is not going to do 4K at 120. It's just not going to do it. A 4090 will. Okay. Now, some of the newer games, it really puts it to the test. But a 4090, in most cases, at high settings, okay, high, forget about ultra, because ultra is really like going to the extreme, right? Like I play on ultra, that's fine, but let's just keep it kind of fair here. A PS5 at high settings, that's probably like where it should be. Okay. A 4090 at high settings is going to hit 4K 120 most of the time in most games. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I'm not sure what they're trying to prove here. You know what I mean? So, um, secondly, is a 4090 a waste of money? Um, again, that's a kind of a blanket statement, so I'm just going to assume its meaning. Like for him, he doesn't think it's worth paying 1600 for a 4090. Fine, that's your opinion. Great. Um, but is it like outlandish that a 4090 costs $1600? Let's check. Let's look over the years. Now, obviously, I didn't put a chart up and I didn't get every single thing out there because I just don't have time. But I just spent like 45 minutes, looking for stuff here that I could kind of go over the years with. Okay. Now, I did make big jumps. Like I didn't really worry about the 90s too much because like in order to find computers in the 90s, like you'd have to have the specific model number and all that stuff, and I just didn't know all that right off the top of my head. So let's start with um, computers first, right? And then we're going to go to the consoles. So I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me zoom in if I can. All right, so here's the classic Apple II computer. Okay, we're not going to go like in the 70s because whatever, they were just that's too old. This is when people could actually start affording computers much easier. So personal. So the Apple II computer released at $1,298, right? Now today, now this is Wikipedia, okay? They're saying that's $5,804 today, or in 2021, excuse me. So it's probably more today, right? So but that came with a monitor. I don't know about the tape deck. That was probably extra, but I'm not sure. Let's just assume it did. So it came with the joysticks, I guess. Again, I'm just assuming because I don't know. I thought they were extra before, but um, let's just assume that all came together. But I don't think this stuff did. But again, let's assume it did because I'm not sure. I'll just give them benefit there. It came with a funky monitor there, because that's what you had. A nice computer system here, and then the tape deck and joysticks. Okay, so it came in two flavors. Okay, so this is the first flavor probably didn't have this stuff. It probably just had a floppy on the side or something. And then the second flavor was 2,638, which is equal to over $11,000 in 2021. That's for a personal computer, okay? You literally had to take out a loan to get that computer unless you were already making some serious cash. You had to have a really good job, right? So, and that came with a maximum of 48 kilobytes of RAM. That was the higher flavor one. The lower one only came with 40 kilobytes of RAM. So that's pretty nuts. Or KIB, whatever that means. All right, so okay, are computers expensive today? Oh, I don't know. My computer, I put mine together, which is probably a little more expensive than buying it already pre-built. But like my computer, if I got it pre-built, well, I put really good stuff in my computer, so that's why it costs more. You will never get the stuff in my computer that from a pre-built without paying like super big money. But if you just wanted to get an RTX 4090 would say 13700K or 13900K or 7950 from AMD, you're probably going to pay like, I don't know. We could probably look it up, but like say 4,000, maybe less if you get a good deal somewhere. So maybe 3,800, okay? But they usually don't last long, right? So $4,000, okay? And then that will go down over time, right? So it always goes down a few $100s over time. Now, what about the wonderful Amiga 2000? Okay, I'm just skipping to the 2000 because that was the one that kind of went more mainstream. So I don't, and these prices all may not be accurate because I've found, here and there there's been some different prices here, like because I'm assuming this is at release date, which is what it should be showing me because I said Amiga 2000 computer price at release. So it was, and they're given different prices here for some reason, right? $1,495. So that would be equivalent to $3,600 today, right? And I don't know if that came with a monitor. Um, doesn't say here exactly if it came with a monitor. Oops. So yeah, it's not really showing me anything different. I don't think I don't think it came with a monitor. I think it was just like this. This is the Amiga 500. Let's see what the Amiga 4000 was, because that probably came with a monitor, for sure. Okay, so that was released in 1992 for 36 $3,699. So, you know, that's over $11,000 today again. So, um, Although again, we're getting different prices here, right? This might be the one with the monitor and everything. Down here they're saying Amiga 4000 released in 1992, discontinued in 94 already. That was pretty quick. Introductory price was 1285, which was equal to 2900 in 2017. So yeah, so we're getting slightly different prices here. You know, I don't have time to like delve through, but this is oldcomputers.net, so you would think they probably know what they're talking about. So, and I think this was a bit overpriced at the time anyway. Um, I think we would go probably more on the lines with the Amiga 2000 price, right? So they're saying $3,600. What about the Amiga 3000? Because they're saying, seems like they're saying good things about that one. Right. So the Amiga 3000 was $3,379 at release. So that's well over 11,000 today. And then you got the old Commodore 64. It was released at say 600, which is equivalent to $1,670 today. And that was just this. I don't think that was with a monitor. I think that was just this thing right here. That was the computer. Because I had one of those. I also I had some other stuff too. I forgot to put the Tandy computer up here. I was trying to find an old Hewlett Packard, but I don't really remember the models, right? So um, I just found this HP 150, which was like a home computer. Um, it says here this is what it looks like. I mean, I don't know if this was. I'm pretty sure it was a home computer. Um, I believe it came with the keyboard, the computer, and the monitor. So that was $27.95 back then. So again, in today's money, they're saying it's over $11,000 or over 10,000. All right. So that's just some of the prices that you paid for computers back in the day. You know, I mean, I can go on and on and on. And obviously, by the time we got to like say 2000, the prices of things dropped quite a bit, right? And I'm sure you can look through all those things and cherry pick, you know, whichever ones that are going to fit your argument. But again, if you were to get a top end, like I had an old laptop that was like one of those tough books, and it had like integrated graphics. You could play like I think Doom on it or like old Doom on it or something. Very badly, of course, but I mean that thing was like, you know, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 back in the 90s, late 90s. And that was just a laptop, right? So that's, you know, going to be double that price now, if you compare it to today's money, you know. So again, you're paying $6,000 for a laptop. And that wasn't even like a gaming laptop. That was just like you know, uh, one that had a pretty tough shell, that you needed to travel around with. Um, So, high prices are nothing new. Everybody seems to want to make high prices as something new. So let's go into the graphics cards, and I'm going to start at the 9700 Pro. Okay, because I just don't have time to go through all the graphics cards over history. In fact, if you go back into the 90s and look at the prices of graphic cards, because number one, you had to have a 2D module and a 3D module. On some computers, they were separate. And some computers, they had an add-in card. Like you had to have a 2D card and a 3D card. So you had to have two graphics cards in some computers. And some computers came with the 2D chip right on the board. And then if you wanted 3D graphics, you had to buy a 3D card for the 3D graphics. So it was very expensive, to really have good graphics in computers. Um, you know, Before the age of the graphics, you know, processing unit as we know it today. Okay, so we're gonna go to the 9700 Pro here. Must have lost it here. Um, Again, I'm getting a lot of different prices here, so it's kind of weird. Um, I thought I had it up here. I'm sorry. Um, hmm. See, I don't think this is quite right here. It might have been $400 because I remember when it came out. So I guess we'll just go with $400. Anantech, go to them if you want to go to their site. CNET said 400, so we'll go with $400. So I don't know what that's equivalent to today. We'll find out when we go, to some of these other ones because I think there's some that tell you like what they're worth today. So let's see, $400. Again, this doesn't even come up like all the time accurate. I don't know how to put it. I don't know. I'm half asleep here. So I don't know what today is because I don't know what year this was written. You know what I mean? It could be 2023. It could be 2021. Uh, okay, so here he says 600. This one says dollartimes.com says $631. So the top dog 97 Pro was 631 equivalent today. Okay. Again, don't get your panties in a bind because you hear that. Your argument can't be, see, even in today's money, the top card was only $631. I mean, that's kind of like that's not how things work, right? Because in other words, when you bring out a new technology, a brand new technology, and you spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, maybe billions of dollars in research and development to bring that new technology out. You're not going to sell it for $5, right? You got to get that money back. So it's just with any technology, right? Like whenever the new processor came out, you know, uh, in the 90s and the early 2000s, whenever the new graphics card came out, or a new architecture, that is, you'd always be paying the premium for that, right? Whenever a new technology came out, you'd be paying the premium for that. Whenever a new personal computer came out, you'd be paying the premium, especially if it had more features, right? You're going to pay the premium. So over time, that technology will become cheaper and cheaper. That's true, right? But not the the brand new stuff necessarily. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know if the 97 Pro was built on older architecture or it's brand new. I'm not sure about that. But, this is when things were kind of heating up between Nvidia and Radeon, right? So you have to kind of put that into perspective too. Like after the 9700 Pro, there was a boxing match between Radeon and Nvidia, okay? So that kind of like determined things, right? Um, and we'll see that kind of as we go on here a little bit. So now we'll go to the 8800 GTX. Okay, so the GTX released at $600 and the GTS released at $449. Okay, now unfortunately I don't have time to tell you like how much more powerful that was than the Radeon 9700 Pro. I mean, I could probably put it in here. Let's do GeForce 8800 GTX versus um, Radeon 9700 Pro. I mean, these probably came out about the same time, maybe. They're going to give us some data here. Hmm, too old, huh? That's interesting. Hmm. I usually do this GPU user mark. Yeah, because that usually says it, but we got to get to, let's see, 9700 Pro. Huh, doesn't have it. Interesting. Huh. I think it was the 6800 GT. They probably don't have that either now, because this is like user benchmark, so they would have had you would have had to submit them um, yourself into a database, and people just weren't doing that back then. 9700 Pro versus 9800. Was that Radeon 9800? I forgot about 9800. Yeah, I forgot all about that one. Anyway, I don't have time to really go into that. That's not what I'm really doing here. Anyway, so $600 for the GTX, which I guess at the time was the top dog, I'm gonna assume. Okay, so you know, uh, so again, $600 in 2006. So that would be worth about $885 today. Again, they're not giving me the year, so I don't know what year that was written. So 850 in 2022. So okay, so I was so 850. I would say it's probably more like this today because inflation is so nuts now. I would say it's probably around 883. So yeah, so top dog was $883. But again, the technology back then, yeah, my goodness. So you're really going to compare an 8800 GTX to a 79 XTX or an RTX 4090? I mean, it's really not really a good comparison. Um, then you have the X800 Pro from Radeon. It says here it was released at $399. Again, it depends on the market you were in. Here it says the XT 800 XT Platinum will be $500. So again, there's some different prices here. That was released in 2004. So again, in today's money, you're probably talking about $600 or $700. probably more towards $700. Again, I understand that's not 1,000, that's not 1,600, but again, this was really a lot of money back then, like a whole lot of money, you know. So these were big prices, you know. Now this one says euro. I don't like euro money. I wanted US dollars. I think I don't know what the euro was worth back then, but the 6800 Ultra, which was like the top dog for Nvidia for a little while, it says it was 500 euro um, in 2004, which would be more in American dollars, I think, if it was that much in Europe. You know what I mean? Because the euro, I think, was still worth more than the dollar back then. Um, so we'll say it was at least $500 US, right? So I think I actually had that up here. But here it's saying this is just the 6800 for 300. That's not the Ultra. Yeah, so 600. So the 60, so whatever, BFG and overclock version was 600 bucks. All right, so that's a third party version. So $600 in 2004. So, you know, we might as well add like $300 onto that, right? So that's like 900 bucks today. That's a lot of money. Um, Here you got I'm trying to give ATI some glory here, X1900 XTX, because I remember like looking at all these things as I was, as time was going by, because I was really into graphics, trying to find how I can get better graphics on my computer. So the X1900 XTX was $649. So you see there's a shift here happening, right? Why? Well, because Radeon was putting more research and development, right? They had to put more effort into research and development. See, this is what happens. See, what everybody says that when competition happens, everything's supposed to get cheaper. But that's not how reality works. Yes, it will get cheaper over time, right? But when you have fierce competition out there, it doesn't necessarily drop prices, right? What competition does, at least in my opinion, does the most is spark innovation. Okay, it sparks innovation, right? And sometimes it makes things cheaper, right? But it depends on the context, right? Like when you're talking about TVs, which I think are the biggest ripoff of ever. A graphics card is not the biggest ripoff, by the way, because that's a very complex thing. But a TV, look at a TV. You're going to pay what? How much money for a 4K 120 TV when it's not on sale? Okay? You're paying over $1,000 most of the time. That's ridiculous, in my opinion, for just something that throws pictures on the screen at you. That's it. Doesn't do anything else except show you a picture. Yeah, it's got the smart things in it so you can watch Netflix. Who cares? You know? I'm a gamer. I'm going to use it for gaming. Same thing with monitors. What are you paying for a 4K 120 monitor? Still $1,000 or more. It's ridiculous. Like I paid half price for mine, and that's what I'm willing to pay for it. And even that was a lot of money. And it's not even a big screen. It's only 32 inches. So I still don't think it's worth $500. You know? But, I'm going to get to the other reasons why you would pay 1600 for a 4090. Okay, so this is like 649. So again, that would be like equal to probably $1,000 today, right? This was released in 2006 or somewhere around there. This may have been before it was released. And then you have the Radeon 7000 series, which oh boy, what did I do here? Oh, you have the Radeon HD 7970, right? That's a top dog for Radeon for a little while. So here they're saying it's starting at $500. That was in, I don't know, 2012, I guess. So here you can see prices came down a little bit for the top dog for Radeon. Probably because it was built on previous architecture, I don't know. But again, when you build on previous architecture, you're going to be able to do things a little cheaper, right? Because all you're doing is just making tweaks, right? Nvidia did that too. So there was a time there where the prices weren't really getting outrageous. Um, and then blammo, Nvidia hits us with the Titan Z, right? $3,000. Now, of course, this wasn't technically a consumer card, okay? At the time, it was like a workstation type card that was in the reach of consumers if they had that much money to spend. Okay, so the Titan was the game changer, right? Um, I don't know, like, if I'm on guru3dhere.com, so go visit them, give them some love. Um, I don't know. Let's see benchmarks here. Are they going to give us some decent benchmarks? Let's see benchmarks. So let's see if they actually did 4K stuff here. I'm kind of curious here how this did at 4K. Huh, that's interesting. I forgot the R9 295. So I wonder. So this might have been done later after its release, because it's comparing it to like the 7080 780 Ti. Yeah, so this has to be like they must have retested it later or something. But it was getting 55 frames per second at 4K, which was pretty good back then. Because you can see the R9. I don't know, you can't really see this, can you? Let me zoom in. And again, this is guru3d.com, so go check them out. So now you can see it now. So the 780 Ti two-way SLI was at 67 frames per second. That was SLI. The R9 295 times 2, which I'm assuming is Crossfire. That might have been a dual GPU card though. 63 frames per second, and the 290X two-way Crossfire, which is what I think that is, 60 frames per second. And this is just one card, the Titan Z, pumping out 55 frames per second at 4K. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, it just blew away all these, you know. So even the old GTX Titan, I forgot about that. That was another card that I think was $1,000. That was 1,000, I think, when it came out, and that was only able to get 31 frames per second. That's Hitman, and then BioShock. Let's see where it did 35. You know, so back then 35 4K, that was pretty awesome. Because I think the Titan came out 2012, something like that. Yeah, so this is like crazy. That was a big price jump, you know. A lot of money. All right, next, right? And this is where things started heating up here, right? So, in comparison, right, the previous architecture, which I think was the 7970, and correct me if I'm wrong here, or the previous architecture top dog 7970 was $549, right? So when this R9 295X2 came out, they released it at $1,500. So, hello, right? And when was that released? Excuse me, 2014. So let's do $1,500 because that's. Let me just zoom in here so you guys can see this very clearly. Oop, come on. I hate when it does that. Okay, $1,500 in 2014 is equal to $1,900 in 2023. That's from our everybody's favorite company, AMD, the company for the people. $1,499. Now again, that's probably their worst case scenario, right? They never I don't think they ever released a card that expensive after that. But correct me if I'm wrong. Consumer card. You know, obviously they had their pro stuff, but that's different. All right, so here's the Titan X. Um, it doesn't give the release date. That was $1,000. Um, let me see here. When was that released? See, they get them confused because of the way NVIDIA named everything. It was kind of goofy. It was released in 2015. So $1,000 in 2015. Now they're saying it's only worth. So that would be worth $11.91 today. Okay. Which again, I don't know where these guys get their inflation stuff, but inflation, I don't even like using the inflation index, right? Because that doesn't even like reflect all the time. Remember, that's just a number, right? That's just a gauge, but that's not necessarily reality. You know what I'm saying? Because it depends on the market, right? It depends on demand because obviously the crypto craze in 2018 and 2020, right? That told you something totally different. But whatever, we'll go by this, which again I still don't think is like how you would properly gauge it. But we're just kind of doing it easy here, right? So again, that would be $1,200 today. 1,400 AMD. They did it. And then of course, then we had the RTX Titan, which was a beast back in the when it came out. It was a beast, you know. So, um, that released at $2,500. Okay. Now the RTX 2080 Ti, which is again that came out at 1,200, I think. So that was much more consumer friendly, right? That came out at in the 2080 Ti came out in the fall of 2018, right? So the Titan RTX was $2,400. So that would be what you would. That's what the 90 series is, right? The 90 series is basically the new Titan series, right? Really, the 80 Ti was the top dog, right, for a while, right? the 980 Ti, the 1080 Ti, the 2080 Ti, right? They were the top of the line GPUs. So the 90, everybody like is trying to, I think, equate the 90 series with the 80 Ti series, but that's not how you should do it. You know, the 90s, the 3090 and the 4090 are basically your Titan cards, okay? Um, and the Ti, like the 3090 Ti and the 4090 Ti, that's just like for enthusiasts, super enthusiasts. Like that's not even like I don't even count them as normal. That's just niche, right? So if Nvidia does like bring out like a 4090 Titan, you know, that's only because there's really nowhere else to go. You can only go up like Ti and then Titan. So a 4090 Titan would be like a super Titan. You know what I'm saying? If they ever do bring it out, right? So again, this was what the cards cost, right? So that's more, right? That's more than $1,600, right? The 4090 $1,600. The 3090 was $1,400. So, you know, Nvidia actually went down in price. Again, I don't know why people are whining and crying. And I mean, they actually reduced the price of things. Um, and then we have the Fury X. Okay. Um, says it came out in 2015. That launched at $649. And it was a direct competitor of the GTX 980 Ti. Okay. And I read down here somewhere that the the Fury X launched at about the same price as the 980 Ti. Okay, so AMD didn't sell it cheaper. They figured, well, this probably cost us a lot of money to make, but we're going to have to match the 980 Ti price, right? So they brought it out at the same price because they knew they can get that price for it, right? So, you know, this is just how things work. All right? So, that's just the GPU wars, okay? So, um, you know, when it comes to the RTX situation, right? Again, from what I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Nvidia said that they spent upwards of $10 billion dollars in research and development on ray tracing and AI and all that stuff, the RTX features, right? That we kind of enjoy today, right? And they are enjoyable. They're very good. They're only getting better. So, you know, when you spend $10 billion dollars in research and development, you have to get that money back somehow. $10 billion dollars is a lot of money. Like, I don't think most people even fathom in their mind when a company spends billions of dollars in research and development, right? That is a lot of money, right? So, if you were to count up to 10 billion, right? Let's say you were able to say one number every second, right? One, two, three, four, and you count it up to 10 billion, right? Then let's make it easy. 10, uh, let's see, 10, comma, comma. Um, let's see, is that 10 billion? Yeah, I think that's 10 billion. 10 billion seconds. Let's see what that's equals. Seconds equals. Oh, you could just probably just say, um, well, if I had a calculator, it'd be much quicker. Oh, I didn't say seconds. Sorry. Seconds. Right. So it would take you 317 years to get to 10 billion if you were to just count like normally, just one number each second, right? One, two, three, or maybe you got to go faster than that. One 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, four 1,000. If you were to do that all the way to 10 billion, it would take you 317 years. That's a very big number, so, right? So that's not chump change. You know, we like the government and our politicians like to throw around, billions and trillions, and they're the worst. They're the worst when it comes to managing money, but yet we still vote these dope heads in. But I don't want to get political right now. Um, so that's a lot of money, right? And what is $2,500 out of, you know what I mean? 10 billion. Like how many of these RTX cards would you have to sell to get back that money? All right, let's just do that, right? Um, I don't have the calculator on the screen, but I'm just doing 10 billion divided by 2,500. Right, you would have to sell 4 million units to get that 10 billion back, right? And I highly doubt that um, they sold 4 million Titan RTX cards. I highly doubt that. How many Titan RTX GPUs were sold? I mean, we'll never know that. I mean, remember that's just to you know to cover that $10 billion. Now, there's plenty of other money that's been spent on many other things. Like every time you make a new GPU architecture, you're spending millions and millions of dollars. I mean, I don't know if anybody really knows the number, right? Like nobody really knows. And of course, Google seems to be so stupid nowadays when you put in like a specific question like that. You know what I mean? How many Titan RTX GPUs were sold? It's like they don't even know the answer. Because I don't know if they even release that stuff. But I really can't imagine there being like a ton of them being sold. How many Titan RTX GPUs were sold? Let's just say in, I don't know, let's do 2019. Again, it's probably not, nobody probably knows. But just as reference, right? NVIDIA said that they threw out in the wild 200,000 RTX 4090s, right? And that's a consumer card, right? The Titan RTX was more geared towards like people who did, you know, um, workstation stuff, um, high level rendering, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that just tells you right there. I mean, if they did happen to release 200,000 Titan RTXs, that's probably a lot, you know? That's way far from 4 million, right? So, um, so again, before I go on to the consoles because I didn't even get to those yet, right? um, I don't have any. I'm waiting for my friend to text me. I'm supposed to help him move. But he's not texting me yet, so I'm not sure what's happening. So I want to address this question before I go into the console prices, okay? Because there is. I'm gonna get rid of all these tabs here. So expensive video cards is not new, okay? It's not new. And in a lot of ways, they've gotten cheaper. You know, what I mean, you've gotten a lot more performance than what you had back in 2004, 2002, 2006 when you're paying $800 for a GPU, right? This stuff doesn't like just pop into existence as scientists like to say everything does. You know, only God can create, right? Matter just doesn't pop into existence for no reason, okay? Um, Research and development on AMD's side, on Intel's side, on NVIDIA's side. I'm not just saying, you know, I'm not shilling for anybody here, you know. Um, to me, the biggest ripoffs are cars and TVs, right? And monitors. Like they should be really cheap right now. But of course, cars are expensive because of our wonderful politicians making, you know, um, just too many laws that make everything become more expensive. Regulations that don't need to be there, right? So again, I'm not going to get political here. We're just over-regulated. That's the problem. That's why things are so expensive. Um, so let me just tell you from a personal perspective of why I I'm not going to say need, okay, but there is a need, okay? Why I'm willing to pay for a 4090, okay? And why I'm willing to pay for a 4K TV. You know, I kind of wanted the 120 hertz, but I ended up going for the monitor instead. Okay, which was actually cheaper than the TV, but it's much smaller, so I'm not sure it's actually working out for me the way I was thinking. But I would have probably rather had a 120 hertz TV, but that's another story. So the first thing I'm going to touch on is my eyesight. My eyesight is not good. Even when I get new prescription, new contacts, it's still never ever right because I got a stigmatism and all that stuff. So they never really get the prescription ever right. So there's always like a blur or a distortion in my vision. Um, so for me, I need a big screen, but not only a big screen, I need high fidelity, right? Like anybody could say, well, just use a 1080 monitor and ramp up the scaling. Well, that's all fine and dandy, like what I just did here with this page, right? I can ramp this up huge, right? But how am I going to work in that kind of environment, right? Like all I can see on my whole screen is just this comment, right? How is that going to help me see what's down here or up here or off to the side? You know what I'm saying? So again, to just for people to just make statements that cater to their own ego is just silly, right? So yes, I do need to see larger, but I also need to see more, right? So I need more real estate. So when I have a bigger screen, right? Oops, excuse me. Yep, I lost it again. When I have a bigger screen, and I can't do it right now, I don't think, because I don't think it'll let me do it in OBS. But, I need to make 4 segments, right? Like when I have a big screen, I can make a window here, 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 right? Like if I'm video editing, I can have my video folder here and I can have my editing software here, right? So I can actually split it up into two screens here. Again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, it won't let me segment when I'm in OBS, I guess, or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on there. I think I got to be on my desktop, which you're not going to be able to see anyway. Yeah, so it won't matter. Um, so for me, paying the extra money for the 4090 not only helps me out in gaming, obviously, I can ramp up the graphics in the gaming, which makes it so that I can see clearer. But also when I'm working on my desktop, I can also see clearly. So for me, it has to do with my eyesight, okay? Like if I had 20/20 vision, I probably would be happy with a 1080p or 1440 screen. Maybe, probably. But I do like high fidelity gaming, so that still may not be enough. Um, so that's why I want to invest in a 4K TV or a 4K monitor, right? Or a high fidelity monitor, a 1440p high refresh rate monitor. Um, so it's for me, it's not a waste of money, right? For me, it has to do with needs somewhat. Okay, I'm not saying that there's a little bit of indulgence there because I probably could have went with a 4090 and got away, or 4080 and got away with that. But you know, 4080 versus 4090, well, pay a couple hundred more and you're going to get a lot better. Um, so that's kind of where that came from. Um, so again, if you're a video editor, you do a lot of crunching numbers or workstation stuff, and then at the same time you want a game, well, you're going to go with a 4090, right? So it's not a waste of money. And I like the RTX features, right? I'm all in on RTX. I like DLSS, I like ray tracing, I like the AI stuff, DLAA, anti-aliasing that NVIDIA has, the hair works, all that stuff, right? All the NVIDIA features, the encoders, right? So all that stuff is good. So in my mind, why don't I want that if it's good, right? So I don't mind paying for that. Um, because it works. It's much better than it was. I mean, my RTX 2080 Ti that I have is still very relevant. In fact, it's gotten better over time, right? Because the DLSS is better, the AI stuff is better. I can use DLAA, I can use Hairworks and all that stuff. So, and it still has a good encoder in it, even from back then, you know. So, so I didn't waste my money with that either. It's still a very strong card. Performs as well as a 3070 or 3070 Ti. And it has more VRAM. So there you go. Um, now, because I bought a 4090 because it's something that I feel that I need because of my eyesight issues and stuff, does that mean that I just indulge myself on everything? Well, not necessarily because I have bad hearing too. My hearing is not good. So you might say, well, buy a hearing aid. Well, this is where things, again, you have to look at from someone else's perspective rather than just your own. Well, if I was to buy a hearing aid, which is not covered under my insurance, and that's the state insurance, by the way, our favorite thing to talk about, the wonderful government. Um, They don't cover it. So I would have to pay out of my pocket. So that's anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 for hearing aids. Okay? Because I don't want those big Hermy ones that stick off your ear and look ridiculous, right? I want the ones that are low profile. So you're going to pay like $3,000 to $6,000 for that. So you might say, well, go out and buy it. Well, that's a lot of money. Oh, but you're willing to pay 1,600 for a graphics card that you can't eat, So because fixing your vision is not the same as being able to fix your hearing in all respects. Okay, I can still hear, but my hearing is not good. You know what I mean? So instead of paying $3,000 to $6,000 for a hearing aid out there, I just ask people, can you speak up a little bit because my hearing's not good, right? Especially in a noisy room. Here, when I'm gaming, well, it's true the speakers don't sound good to me. I can use them, but they don't sound good to me because of my hearing problem, right? Some sounds they sound muffled or some sounds I can't hear, right? Um, so my solution is these headphones, right? Now you might be thinking, wow, you must have pretty expensive headphones. Must have paid two, three, $400 for them things. Well, no, because I'm not out wasting money, as some people keep like saying when you buy things that you need or like, right? You're not wasting money if you're buying something that you need or like, right? These are just Razer headphones, right? And these aren't even like the top of the line ones at all. These are like their lower end ones. Now, why do I buy these? What do I buy these for? Well, I buy these so I can hear, number one, the game and people talking when we're doing voice chat. But I also want something that's comfortable. Why? Because sometimes I wear glasses. And when you put these things over glasses, they really push the arms against your head, and that really hurts after a while. So I need ones that are kind of soft and but still sit tight enough so that the noise outside isn't going to come in so easily. So these were like 69 bucks, and I can hear. So it's not like, people that buy a 4090 are just out there wasting money on everything. That's kind of a cynical thinking. If a 4090 is not good for you, great, don't buy it. Don't buy it. But don't go on like somebody's channel and say, "Oh, a 4090 is a waste of money," or 4080 is a waste of money. Maybe for you it's a waste of money because you like playing with a console. Right? Obviously, if you're talking about a PS5 here, then you don't care about PC gaming. I don't like playing on a console because I don't like using the controller. That's my preference. Yeah, you can say, well, you spend too much on PC gaming and all that stuff all you want. But if I'm not going to have an enjoyable experience, then why would I buy a PS5? That would be a waste of money if I spent $550 on something that I'm not going to enjoy. That would be a waste of money. Right? PC gaming for a lot of people is a way to leave reality for a while, right? Get lost in another world, right? Now, I would say, we should also acknowledge faith and religion and God. Lose yourself in God sometimes because He's the one that's really going to be able to help you in life, not your game. But I admit, when I'm, for me, it's a mental relaxation thing. For me, it's my therapist, you know, at least from a humanistic standpoint. It relaxes me, it takes me away from the stresses of life, and I can just immerse myself in a game, right? So it's therapy. You can't just like say that something's a waste of money. Maybe for you it is, but for someone like me it's not. My wife doesn't understand why I like gaming. She doesn't understand why I'm on YouTube doing videos. She would say it's a waste of time. And yeah, maybe there's arguments to say that gaming is a waste of time, but that means it's a waste of time for you too, right? Because it's not just one-sided here. If you're going to say something's a waste of money or a waste of time, then you have to prove that it's a waste of time for everybody. Um, yeah, we could be out learning how to play guitar or piano or go out helping the homeless or whatever the case is, right? Of course. You can make 1,000 different arguments, but there's a lot of nuance to things, you know? It's not always cut and dry, right? If you want to come from a faith standpoint, a religious standpoint, yes, it is cut and dry. We waste a lot of time in life when we should be worrying about our salvation. But from a humanistic standpoint, from a practical standpoint, getting lost in your game for a little while may calm you down. It might keep you from blowing your top and getting angry about something, right? It's therapy for some people. So we have to kind of be empathetic sometimes and put ourselves in other people's shoes instead of this mentality that we have today that we just have to be angry all the time and we have to rage and we have to complain about Nvidia, complain about Intel, and it's like AMD's doing some horrible things too and everybody ignores it. Right? We need to like start just loving one another. Right? If you want to buy something, then great, you buy it. Right? But don't go around telling people that they're just like stupid people for buying something they want to buy or that they like or something that helps them relax. Right? Like I don't smoke anymore. I don't drink anymore. I used to do drugs. I used to smoke pot and smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, go out to the clubs on the weekends and waste hundreds and hundreds of dollars doing that, right? That's a waste of money. Even if you get laid, it's still a waste of money because you shouldn't have to pay to get laid. Go out and get a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever you want to call them today, right? So I don't do any of that anymore. So for me, the only thing that I have for entertainment is going out in nature. I like going hiking and walking in the mountains when I can do it. Go to the beach, walk on the boardwalk. But at home, my entertainment is my computer. So why wouldn't I invest my money in that? Why wouldn't I try to make take my money and get the best, that I can get? And I always bargain shop. So a lot of what I bought for my computer was actually much cheaper than normal list price. Right? The only thing that I really couldn't get like a large discount on is the 4090, and that's really it. And, the power supply. They're pretty expensive. Like they really haven't been cheap. So the power supply and my 4090 were really the things that I couldn't really get bargains on. But the motherboard I tried to get as cheap as I can get. The RAM I got like 80 dollars off or something. The um, the case, I went with kind of a smaller case. It's kind of crammed in there, but it works. So that was cheaper. Um, Even my M.2 drives I ended up getting like 100 hours off almost on each of those. So I had to look for a pretty good sale. So I saved a lot of money. It's a powerful system, but still cost a lot. But I actually saved a lot as well because I bargain shop whenever I try to buy stuff. So it's not like I'm out there to spend the most money possible. So um, I'm not going to feel guilty because this is what I have to do for entertainment. I don't hang out with friends much. I don't go to the bars. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke cigarettes. There's like lots of people that do that. And are you on their YouTube channel saying you're wasting your money? Because that's a lot. Me, I buy the computer once and then I use it for a couple years. Going out to the clubs every week, spending one, two, $300, that's a lot of money. That's $3,000 in 10 weeks. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing that every weekend, and even if you did that at just once a month, that's $3,000 in 10 months, which is going to be $6,000 in 20 months. So $7,000 in 2 years just going to the bar, to club on the weekends. So you tell me what's a waste of money. All right, let's get to the consoles now, and then I'm going to get off. So I'm going to go old first. All right. So consoles. Atari released in 1977 for 199 bucks. That was a lot of money then. That would be worth that would be like $962 today. Now I don't know what year this is 2022 as of September 2022, and this is from inflationstation.net. So again, give them some love. They're providing this information. Um, so again, I'm just assuming these are accurate numbers here. Okay. So Atari was 199. That would be worth 960. That would be like paying $962 today for a console. Think about that. The Intellivision, which was one of the greatest systems ever released back then, $299. That would be like spending 1,125 hours on your console today. Again, I don't know how they're getting these numbers here different. Um, I guess they're basing it on what the inflation was in 1982 versus today. But again, I don't like going that route, but whatever. So ColecoVision, 175. That would be like paying $532 today. Atari, 1982, $289. That would be like paying $850 today. The Nintendo system, one of everybody's favorites back then. $200, that would be like spending $543 today. The Atari 7800 was released in 86. It was 139, which was pretty cheap actually. That would be like paying 379 today, which again I think those numbers are not. I don't know how they're doing this calculation here. I think we should just do like an average, not year to year. Yeah, trust me, $139. I don't think that's equal to 379. But anyway, whatever. The Master System, which really wasn't popular, so I'm gonna skip. Well, Sega Master, yeah, it was. $200. That would be like paying 539 today. Again, I think that's kind of not accurate. I would think that's more like this, but whatever. We'll just go with it. I'm going with it. Game Boy, $89. That would be like paying $212 for that today. That's kind of crazy. Sega Genesis was 189. That's like paying 450 today, and but look at what you're getting for 450. Um, Yeah, so I mean, we're kind of getting into these weird ones here. Super Nintendo, 199. That would be like paying 432 today. I'm not sure what this 3DO Interactive is. Sega Saturn, here we go. $400 that was. That would be like paying $778 today. And that was a good system, right? That was a real good system. So, you know, it's a lot of money. PlayStation was 299. That's like paying 578 today. Oops, sorry. um, do we have them all showing here? Yeah. Let's see what else. Nintendo 64, 199. That's like paying 374 today, but again, I think that's not the right number. PlayStation 2 is 299. That's like paying 510 today. Again, I think that would be a little should be a little higher. Xbox was 300. That's like paying 500 today. PlayStation 3 was $500. That's like paying 735 today. Um, skipping the handheld ones. Xbox One was 500. That's like paying 635 today. Well, this is 2022, so that would be probably more now. PlayStation 4 399, so that's like paying 500 today. I think that number still should be a little higher. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to worry about the modern ones here. They don't have the PlayStation 5. Oh, right here. And I'm looking at I'm looking for something like this. So $400, that would be like paying 500 today. Xbox Series X 500, that's like paying 569 today or 2022. So yeah, I mean, back in the day, I mean, you're paying big money back then, you know? The reason why I say the inflation thing doesn't always work out because I'm 52 years old now, so I know what wages were back then. So let's just say that we were to buy a master system for $200 in 1986. So the wages back then, I live in New Jersey, so the wages were probably higher. We were one of the states that had a higher minimum wage probably than many other states. So I I'm just guessing it was probably around $5 an hour. Um, we got paid like that was the minimum wage for like a basic job. So if you're looking at you know um, $5 an hour times 40 hours, that was $200 a week, right? So that's kind of how I would do it, right? I wouldn't do it like simply by inflation because that doesn't really match with wages, right? So you were making $200 a week, and again, that might $5 an hour might be a little high, but that I'm just going to say that's probably the New Jersey wage back then. Um, and that was before taxes. All right. So let's say I don't know. Let's just take 10% out for taxes, right? So that leaves you with $180. That's just federal tax. Yeah, it might be higher. I don't know, but so that's $180. So one week's wage, like this was more than one week's wage, right? Whereas today, the wage is $15 an hour, which is still probably pretty low. $15 an hour times 40 is $600, right? So to buy a PlayStation 5 with like some accessories, you're still you're a week's wage. You know what I'm saying? So it really hasn't gotten cheaper. Yeah, a little bit cheaper. Because again, if you take out federal taxes there, that only leaves you with, and I'm being generous with the taxes, it's $540, right? So that's what a PlayStation 5 cost. With two controllers maybe and whatever. So you're still talking about a week's wage. So it's kind of consoles probably are still on par with what you were paying back then. So it hasn't really gotten cheaper, even though you might think it got cheaper. And a console is not the same as a PC, right? That's a much different beast. And a console, Microsoft and PlayStation usually lose money on that, or they sell it at cost, right? Because they're making money on the games. So I could actually say that it's console gamers' fault that we pay so much for games, right? Because it's consoles who have to sell the games to make back their money, right? So that's why you're paying 60, 70, $80 for games now. PC games were never that much before. You know what I mean? You never paid that much money for PC games. But now that there's a lot of like cross-platform going on, that now has spilled over into the PC. You know what I'm saying? So I could say that it's because of consoles that we pay more for games. So that would be your fault, console players. Um, so you know, we can criticize all we want about a lot of different things, but don't criticize somebody for their happiness. If you're not happy, then that's your problem. Go if you don't make enough money, go to school and learn something, and go learn a trade and do that, or go get a higher degree, do that, and don't say it's costs a lot of money because it's very easy to go to school now. All this media stuff is lies. Like here in America, we've had 2-year colleges. You were able to get grants now for decades. That's always been a thing for a long time now, right? And if you're going to take out a loan for college, then make sure that whatever you're getting a loan for, whatever degree you're going to get, you're going to be able to get get paid to pay off your loan, right? Don't be stupid. Don't be unwise. Don't listen to other people. You do your own research. Don't like if somebody says, "Oh, gender studies is going to be a big thing later." Well, you better hope it is. You better do your research. Gender studies, that's like one of the worst degrees because it's really nobody cares about that. You'll be working at Walmart. You might be able to get like a supervisor job, like an assistant supervisor job if you have an associate's degree or something. But that ain't going to pay much. And I'm just picking that one because it's easy to pick on, you know. So, um, there's ways to get more money. Don't complain, you know. Um, and then if you get stuck in a situation, then just be happy in it because you still have to live life whether your life is easy or whether your life is full of hardship. You still have to live it. So just be happy. Like what is the purpose of being negative and angry and upset about everything? Because that's only hurting you. That's not hurting anybody else. I go to my wife's country. They're poor. at least in the area she lives in. But you know, her family's poor. We're not rich, so we can't make them rich. You know, we send them some money for food. That's basically it. You know, make sure that they're fed now because they were struggling before. But you know, maybe help them out with some shelter. But before that, they were poor. But when I went there, her parents were laughing and everybody was laughing. You know, they were having a good time. I mean, even though they were poor, like most of us wouldn't even think about living like they were living. But yet they still found happiness somehow. You know? So sometimes you have to like what I tell most people who complain all the time is go to a third world country and live there for a year. Not in the city, but live in the country with the poor locals. And then you come back now and you see how much you have to complain about, you know? I guarantee you'll appreciate everything you have, whether you think you're poor in a rich country or not. You know what I mean? Because we're not poor here. The poorest person in America is not poor, right? They can get food stamps, they can get money, they can even get shelter if they really want it, right? But most homeless people, they got mental problems or drug addiction. They don't want to, they don't care about any of that. They just want to be left alone. And that's a big problem, though, you know? But that's, again, the politician's fault. It's not a political party's fault. It's not a, you know, particular conservative group's fault, or it's just that people keep voting in these dumb politicians and their policies are what create the situation, you know? They need to help people become prosperous, right? Not babies sucking off of a pacifier. They need people to be self-sufficient, you know? So again, I don't want to get into politics. So anyway, I hope that, you know, what I talked about was worth anything for anybody. If you got comments when I post the video, you know, I'll be happy to read them. I just be respectful. Even if you have a difference of opinion, you don't have to get on here mean and angry and all that stuff. Okay, we're adults. Let's talk like adults. You know, like I said, your opinion's your opinion. I'm not going to change my opinion, you know, on I already told you my opinion here, right? So you already got my take. I didn't cover everything. I could have said a whole lot more, but this video is already long enough. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Be safe. Be happy, right? Just be happy. That's a choice, right? It's a choice. Being happy is a choice. All right? Peace.